Hi, Lizzie. Welcome to the Sacred Remembering podcast.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm so I'm so excited about today's conversation, and I truly know nothing about you. Like I'm just meeting you, but it is your energy that caused this yes in me when you reached out to me about the podcast. And I don't always feel that yes, and I don't always say no. I say yes, oftentimes I say no when people reach out to the podcast, but I don't know what's about to come through here, but I'm pretty excited because the energy of you and what you're carrying feels like good medicine. So it'll be a fun hour, and I know that something's going to come through here for all of the listeners at any point in the future. So welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm just like
Yeah,
right now, I feel our hearts are connected like through this magical, I don't know, channel, even though we're like a world apart right now.
I know. And a couple episodes back, Acacia Lawson came on, and Acacia lives in Scotland, and you're in
Yes.
Scotland. And I really love a Scotland connection. So I'm just, hoping that there's some magic there somehow. I'm sure there is.
Much magic.
So much magic. Let me read your bio for everyone. Okay. Yeah. Today we're going to talk about people pleasing, which is just a topic that I'm so excited about. I'm so excited to hear your expertise on that. So here's your bio. Lizzie Moult is a cognitive behavioral therapist and a writer who illuminates the energetic dance between our minds and bodies and what it takes to trust ourselves fully. Basically, she's waking up people's feelings to get them in touch with the boundaries that they need to draw. Lizzie is a country gal who broke all the rules, love that, dedicated to the journey of self exploration, and is an expressive, down to earth soul who leads with heart and expands the mind. After healing her own stories, beliefs, and patterns that kept her feeling small, stuck, and prioritizing everyone else, Lizzie is now a radiant and humbling example of how you can turn your story around and do life in your own way. Her mission is to empower people to connect to their truth and trust their gut, to be able to confidently express themselves fully and freely, encouraging them to go for the life that they desire without the self-doubt, hesitation, and seeking approval. Lizzie is passionate about sharing her wild adventures to inspire others and speak their truth and think bigger. And LizzieMoult.com and on Instagram at Lizzie_Moult. And we will tell you those handles and things at the end again. But Lizzie, welcome. And so let's just dive into the people pleasing. And I know I always ask guests about their sacred remembering story, that like how you came to feel the spark of the remembrance and began kind of walking back to yourself. So with this passion around being aware of people pleasing and giving yourself away to others first, I imagine that you have some sacred remembering stories to share about that realization in your own life. Am I right?
Yep.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
was the catalyst to remember who I was.
Amazing. So you kind of had a lifetime habit of giving yourself
No,
away first? Okay, okay.
no. This was a
Yeah.
decade of
Okay.
fully, yeah. I I call it like a self-inflicted people pleaser because an
Hmm.
event happened and it triggered me to become more like we all please, as a
Yeah.
human society, like we love to please. But yeah, an event happened which triggered me into like over giving, over delivering.
Mm, mm, mm.
But then another event happened to like go, oh, look what I've been doing.
Wake you up. Okay, so can we
Yeah,
hear about those? Like that 10-year period, the beginning and the wake up call?
sure. Do you
Yeah.
want to start the beginning?
Yeah, well, yeah, what we're just going to trust the flow and like whatever wants to come through with the story. But yeah, what was the event where you began the deep people pleasing pattern in your life?
So, mid-20s, we're all like still trying to figure out life, right?
I'm
Um,
still trying to figure out life.
I feel like it too, don't worry. But mid-20s, it's like,
Yeah,
what
it's
the
different.
fuck am I
Yeah.
supposed to be when I grow up?
Right. You still
Um,
feel very young. Yeah.
yeah, like
Uh-huh.
the emphasis on like, you should be something, you should be working on something. My background is a creative. I was told I was never allowed to be an artist. Artists don't make money. You can't be a professional writer. Writers don't make money. So, I
Yeah.
heard a lot of that, growing up, from multiple people. But 25, I was in a share house. I was bailed up in the kitchen, cooking popcorn, and a girl that, I'd met a couple of times, but didn't particularly know very well, comes up to me and we started having conversation. And she says to me, you don't have to prove yourself all the time. And I was like, excuse me? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what does that mean? Like, I don't get it. And she's like, well, you keep telling stories like better than everyone else's. And I was like, I'm from the country, that's what we do. We're storytellers, it's not a
Hmm.
competition. Like, someone shares a story, you tell a story, someone else shares a story. It's about like learning and experiencing things. And she's like, no, it just sounds like you're really up yourself and trying to be better than everyone else. And I was like,
Hmm.
oh God. And we all don't like it. That statement, no one likes it,
Hmm. Hmm.
triggered me into like the 10-year downward cycle.
Hmm.
I became so self-conscious because all these people that were around me, my flatmates included, who I thought were like my people, I
Yeah.
finally found them. They weren't there. Like, they were taken away in that little moment that she said that no one
Hmm.
likes it. And I
Hmm.
was like, no one likes me because of
Yeah.
this
It's
thing
such
that
a
I
core part of
do.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm a
Yeah.
storyteller. It's the country living. And hence why we're here having more stories now, right?
Right.
Um, I have permission to do this now.
Of
um,
course.
so I went into, full body shutdown.
Hmm.
I, at the, 25, I was drinking a lot. I was partying a lot. I was doing all the things, working way too many jobs. And so I stopped. I
Hmm.
stopped hanging out with my friends. I stopped talking. I stopped, doing all these things because I was so concerned that these people that had embraced me actually didn't like me.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
seeked validation consistently. Like, am I doing this right? Am I doing that right? Like, that's what I fell into. Fast forward 10 years, we're going to go 10 years.
Yeah.
In that process, yeah, like, I think we all do it. Like, I've always been a bit of a rebel, but I've seeked out my rebelness to be validated in that process. So
Mm-hmm.
2020, was it 2020 COVID happened? Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that year I was putting to get an event together for 100 people. It was like business development mixed with self-development. So all the energetic beautifulness mixed with like, a bit of marketing, but in a really soulful way. It was going to be camping, 18 speakers, 2 days, meditation, all the good juiciness to like nourish your
Mm-hmm.
soul as a business owner. Um, but three things happened. One, huge bushfires wiped out over 1,000 hectares of bushland in Australia, totally devastating. You can't market an event when those things happen. It lasted 4 months.
Mm.
It then flooded the next time I tried to relaunch the event.
Wow.
And I was like, damn,
Yeah.
what's going on? I'm like, okay, third time lucky. Let's do this. Press releases, sent them out to all the major networks, media outlets in Australia. However, that was the day COVID was announced. And I was like, well, fuck me.
Yeah.
What the fuck am I supposed to do? Like I'd been
Yeah.
business coaching, but this event idea, like I poured everything into it because I'm like, I could see how beautiful this could be. Like, this mix of spiritual with business, but, that soulful thing, but it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
So everything that I'd been working for the last year fell to
Mm.
pieces. So I was a bumbling old mess for 3 weeks on my couch, and I started journaling and writing and writing and writing. And in that process, the week prior to, well, the week of the press releases going out, I was doing the timetable for the event, and I put everyone's name on it, the 18 speakers that I've been looking after and nurturing. However, there was no room left for me to speak. And I was like, oh my God. The whole idea of running this event was so I could talk.
Right. Yeah. And you left yourself out.
I left myself out. Why?
Wow.
Because all these people I loved, like, they deserve to go there first. Yes,
Yeah.
you have that time. Yes, I'll give you this. Yes, I'll do that. Yes, 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 yes.
Right.
Yeah, it was a bittersweet moment that took 3 weeks for me to realize that over the course of the last 10 years, I'd somehow lost who I was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which was, a bittersweet moment, but it became the catalyst for deeper healing. And as you say, like sacred remembrance, like, who am I?
Right. Right. I want to stay with the topic of validation here for a bit because it really resonates. And I've talked with a lot of women in a lot of spaces. I used to run this sacred truth mastermind, like even a couple times a year. And now I have a sacred remembering membership. And we're doing a lot of that work that we did in the mastermind, just kind of ongoing in this membership. So anyway, the topic of validation comes up because as women, this is interesting. Like, there's a lot of seeking validation, and I'm even hearing in the event being canceled or pushed back and not happening 3 times, it's like the universe is like, I'm not going to validate this way of operating. Like, even though it was like such a beautiful concept and like mission, the universe is like, I'm not going to validate. I mean, I can't speak to the universe or for the universe and what it was saying to you, but that's just what I kind of heard through that. I was like, oh,
it
wow,
totally validated.
it wasn't, like your way of people pleasing and your way of using your energy like that wasn't going to get validated. And I do think that, sometimes when we're trying to push something big into the world and it's not working, there's that kind of lesson for us underneath, like, wait, how are you giving yourself away there? But a couple of things come up when I do talk to women about validation, and there's some confusion, I would say, or not. There's like some areas for contemplation because as women, we don't want to people please and look for validation externally as to like, approval of who we are or confirmation of who we are. And yet, when I think that there is a space for shared validation when we're in community and like maybe we're the only ones in our lives or in our families going through a certain awakening or a certain sacred remembering, and then it's like nice to be around other women who might validate, like, yeah, I see you. Yeah, that's really hard. So what are some of your contemplations about validation and like use of the word and, even light and shadow aspects of validation?
Well, I think you summed it up beautifully, really,
Mm,
because that's the thing, like, the two sides, like seeking validation because we feel inferior, like that is a thing,
yeah.
that's the shadow. And, going to people for validation in the sense of like, I'm not sure, I'm not sure, I'm not sure, because we're not sure in ourselves. And that
Right.
comes back to us
Yeah.
not being ourselves and trusting ourselves. Right. So, you hit the nail on the head before about me, and the universe. Like, I was pushing and pushing and pushing. The way that I was running the business was not right. Concept, fantastic and beautiful, but the way that I was doing it, I was left out on my own, neglected. I was like, oh God, I'm like trying to like put these things together, but there's no help.
Mm-hmm.
So I was seeking validation, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
However, what you did say as well, which is beautiful, like the light side of this is that, we can seek validation for a sense of community, because validation creates community as well. And you know, like to me, validation can also be feedback, good or bad, but it's our choice as to how we receive and like digest the, like other person's feedback and validation, I guess.
Like reflection,
Yeah.
that mirror reflection.
We're all wired to be a community, men, women, all of us. We want to feel connected, and that sense of validation that we belong, like we desire that. We all desire that. So, to feel like we're being validated, like a hug can be a validation.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful validation. I am loved. Yeah. Fantastic.
Right.
I'm supported. Go.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much here around like women and energy and how we use our energy, which is something I talk about so much. But I want to like keep diving deeper into the sneaky ways that women are, I mean, we're taught to do it. We're taught to look for the validation outside of ourselves, and we're taught to give away our energy first in the people pleasing, like serve everyone else first. And then, maybe you'll know yourself, maybe you won't. Like, we don't even really get that message, but like that external orientation for women to keep giving. I can see you're ready to say something about that.
Well, I've just written it down. Like, let me get to this.
The thoughts.
As women, right? Like, if we took away, like, I guess, the whole projection of the shoulds and things, like women were nurturers.
Yeah.
It's in our own nature to give.
Yeah.
And, to please and give to others. Like, yes, we're wired to do that because that's our nurturing, motherly, like, energy that we all have, like that feminine beautifulness, like that we're just like, yes, let's just wrap you up and just give,
Yeah.
But it's when we don't, like, it's that nurturing is lovely, but it's knowing when to nurture others in a beautiful way, and when to stand back, and actually be whole in ourselves. Because it's yin and yang, that's the thing. Like, you talk a lot about energy, and that's the thing. Like, people pleasing isn't just self, it's two people. It's how your energy is responding to somebody else's. And yes, we are taught as well, and we learn from watching others. Like, I understood that, being the country girl, women stay in the kitchen. Women don't talk. Absolutely. This was demonstrated to me. Yes. But, when my children came along, did I pour all my energy into them? Yes. But I did it instinctively.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I talk to women about, we'll get into the topic of boundaries here, but when I talk to women about like how to allocate your energy and whether or not you're in depletion or like where to give your energy, I'm kind of like, well, our children are their own thing. Like that's a separate, topic, because I'm like, we're beholden to them. We're going to give them our energy. Like that's a given, so yeah, the nurturance, the mothering, the caretaking is so innate and is so beautiful. And then I think we, as in collectively, we get confused because we so often feel depletion for being a caregiver. So I came from a field of education, and, educators are some of the most hardworking people, educators, nurses, social workers, like hard.
Hairdressers.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Hairdressers. There's so much magic in the hairdressers.
I know,
Um,
right?
like for real. So, so open-hearted, like such a career of devotion and real nurturance. I mean, I took in my 20s and 30s, working in schools was like devotion to the children, devotion to other people's children, devotion to the community. And I gave so much of my energy to that. I even worked like half my career in education in residential programs, and so the children lived there, and so that mothering and nurturance, like, went up even more, because it was like, no, we are the caretakers of these children. And yeah, so just there's so much beauty in that, and that's the feminine heart, and that's the way, right? And we're not necessarily going to get the paycheck that validates our energy expenditure, or the gratitude that validates our energy expenditure. And so now we find, a collective of women who have been giving of our energy, to the point of depletion, like to the point of women getting sick, for no lack of, like, not for doing anything wrong, or like for no lack of trying. It's like we begin to deplete because, well, I think because that feminine energy is often so undervalued.
Yeah.
And so I want to hear, let's talk about boundaries, and how, when a woman is like, does have so much to give, and has the ideas, and has the mission that she wants to bring forward, and has the children to take care of, or the community to take care of, how do you talk to women about um, where to decide how to put that energy forward? Or, you might use the word of boundaries. I could kind of talk all day about boundaries. I have other episodes on boundaries, but it's such a nuanced topic because, for many reasons. But how do you talk to women about boundaries and energy allocation? I'm curious.
I like the term energy allocation. I actually,
Mm,
like I love boundaries. I love frameworks. Like, I think there is no such thing as like you're never going to have a completely structured life. We're all flexible. We're all moving because once
yeah,
again, our energy dips and flows. So does other people's. And we're always
yeah,
dancing with boundaries. It really comes back to self. And as to like where to allocate, like I can't tell you where to allocate, like, from my experience, because your experience is completely different to
hmm,
mine. And also, it's honoring our values, like what's most important to us. Like I love my children, right? Like, yes, like
yes,
that's
right,
if, you know, if that was my 100%, like, if we had a pie, like
yeah,
we were like, okay, if I dedicated my whole entire life to my children, it would be the whole pie.
yeah,
If that was my values. However,
yeah,
being me in my body and in my experience, I'm really ambitious. So
yeah,
I need to balance this beautiful love for my children with my creativity and my ability to pour my energy into something else so I feel fulfilled. Because when I'm not fulfilled, I turn into crazy mom.
oh yeah, like when
Because that's
when
the
you're
depletion.
experiencing the depletion. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right. That dip in
right,
energy because I'm giving to them. And it's when I give to them, too much, we get like a little resentful because they're taking up that energy, even though we love them.
yeah,
That resent comes in. So it's like, as you're saying, like how to allocate. Like I like to make sure like I have creativity pots and I have my nature. Like I need nature. If I don't get my nature fix weekly or even daily sometimes, I'm like, oh,
yeah.
But that comes back to knowing what you value and what you need as a human,
Yeah.
because we all seek different things. It's like telling someone you have to meditate every day. Unfortunately, I can't sit still to save my life, but I can do a yin yoga class, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
can go for a walk out in nature for an hour and a half and take my sweet ass time if I want to. And that's
Mm-hmm.
my meditation.
Mm-hmm.
So finding the things, that replenish energy
Yeah. The
and
replenishment.
allocating to some of those, as opposed to going, okay, just give, give, give. What can I do for me?
Yeah, I love the word replenishment. I talk about that a lot. I talk about that in my teachings and in Heartland. And yeah, like we have to kind of flip the switch or flip the reality for women in the feminine from this depletion kind of paradigm into one of replenishment. And I love this context that you're bringing forward of values, because we're going to have those inner truths, like we're going to know what we do value. And so it's a bold, and I love the word rebel. I was such a rebel growing up as well, but I needed to be. So but it is such a rebellious, it's like decision to choose. um, I'm going to take time for my own energy. I'm going to take time to replenish. I'm going to take time to like nurture the value of, let's say, devotion or a spiritual practice where it may not, quote unquote, look like it fits into the day or into the schedule of like the busy life we're supposed to be living, but we're reframing our time and our energy according to what is important to us. Really passionate about this.
Can
Yes.
I share a story?
I love stories.
So and it's fitting to what we're talking about, because it wasn't until I went to a yoga class did I understand this concept. I had a 2.5-year-old and a 6-month-old. I hadn't been to a yoga class in about 5 years. And my husband, I kept complaining. I'm like, I just want to go to yoga class. I just want this time for myself. I'd look online. I'm like, no, nothing fits, nothing fits, nothing fits. And, every day we'd have the same conversation, Groundhog Day, like.
Yeah.
And, he'd just say the same thing. Just book one, just go to one, choose one, go. And I'm like, but, all those excuses. What if, what if, what if, what if? Like I'm leaving my 6-month-old, my boobs could burst at any minute and milk could just go everywhere, right?
Which would be a great like story for a yoga class, or like, like, anyway, I'm just like, that would be great for everybody in the yoga room. I'm saying.
Well, so let's go. Let's actually take me to that yoga class. So I finally found a yin yoga class. It was a Friday afternoon, 4:30. I've got this end of the week. Hubby like finishes a little early. He can look after the kids. I rode my bike. I walked into that yoga class. There was me and another person. And I was like, oh, I like this. Okay, cool. Like nice and delicate. The teacher had a good energy. I laid on the floor. We did 5 poses in an hour.
Mm.
And then we went to Shavasana, and she came up and she stuck her hands underneath my head and then reached down the back of my neck and just gently held my head.
Mm-hmm.
In that moment, tears just started flooding down my face,
Yeah.
because all of a sudden someone was holding me.
Yeah.
I realized I'd given myself, and I hate using this word, is like permission almost to give to myself.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually a validation. That moment of like, oh my God, I'm allowed to go to yoga class. My house is still standing. My kids are still alive. I just didn't think that I could leave them. And that
Yeah.
comes back to me and those thoughts that I had.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a powerful moment to go, oh, yes, yes, I can. Yes, I can replenish me and serve me. Because when I went to that yoga class week on week and after week, was I a better mom? Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Was I a better wife? Yes. Was I a better friend? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
1 hour once a week.
Yeah. I love that. Thanks for that story. And that's the best kind of validation, when the universe is like, here, Lizzie, let me hold you, for all you're trying to hold. Yeah. Best kind of validation. Love that. And I really want to like just tease out one more piece of that. It's like, when we do choose us, we
Mm.
will be supported. And that is such a falsehood in our culture, that if we choose us, we will be doing something wrong or doing something, bad for our families. I can't even count the number of women that reach out to me and say, I want to leave my career so badly. I want to leave my marriage so badly, but I don't want to ruin my kid's life. And I just want to say that the more we know ourselves and the more we are truly on our soul's path, the better off our kids are. The
Mm.
better off our kids are. And not to say that I have not made crazy decisions that impacted my kid, and they did, but is he more resilient and just wise for having been on this walk with me? Fuck yes. Like, if I had stayed a school principal until he was like in high school or college, just so, to not rock the boat, we both would have missed out on so much learning and growing together. And yeah, I think and just have so much gratitude to his soul, because I know it's not been easy to be my son. I have a 13-year-old son, but man, he has been like my sidekick the entire time. And he used to say things to me when he was not yet a teenager, when he was like more sweet and innocent. He's like, Mom, you are really going after it. Like, I see you, and I see you doing things differently. And don't worry, Mom. And the other day he just said, like, we live in an apartment and we kind of got like, we've moved a couple times. I mean, it's been a wild ride. And the other day, just smooth as could be, he's like, so Mom, when we get that piece of land and that house, and then he had this vision for it. And I was like, he's just holding the vision with me. He's just
Mm.
like, and I mean, he's keeping it alive sometimes like more than I am. So
It's
yeah,
the
anyway.
holding.
Yeah, right, right. Yeah, like, you will be supported. Your vision will be held, you will be supported. And I know, women, it is scary as fuck to like start to choose yourself, to start to reallocate your energy, whether it be like one yoga class a week, or I'm walking out of this door Saturday morning at 8 o'clock to go to the woods, and somebody better watch the children. Like, this is
Yeah.
happening. Like, I'm choosing it. I'm starting to put myself and my choices first. And it is so rebellious and so courageous, because we have not had like these are the generations for this movement of women in the feminine choosing we're our own replenishment. Yeah.
Choosing our own replenishment, choosing our way forward, and having a choice.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like I watched my grandmother's, my mother, like my mother did start her own business at one
Mm,
stage whilst I was growing up, and I was like, at the time I didn't think anything of it, but I'm like,
yeah.
that was like the 90s and women didn't do that. I know that
Yeah.
now,
Right. Right.
like she's given me this choice, like to be,
Mm,
yes, she didn't approve of my creativity and those sort of things, but
mm-hmm,
she understood of like making a different choice, making a new choice, doing something different, being bold.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, like it's just going to keep going. My daughter's going to watch me.
Right. Right. Yeah.
She's going to lead her children if she so chooses to have children, though.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so, yeah, for anyone asking themselves that question, like, am I going to ruin my children's lives if I choose me? It's like, no, 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 no. Like, you are changing the course of time. You're changing the lineage patterns of um, female, self-sacrifice by choosing yourself.
Well, can I speak a little bit more on this as well? So
I love
for
this topic. Sure.
the
You don't
little
have
bit of
to ask.
cool,
You
a
just
little bit of
speak it
backstory.
whatever you want. Yeah.
I live in Scotland right now. Obviously, my
Yeah.
accent totally Australian. 8 months ago, we were in Australia. So I've just
Mm,
taken my children away from their best friends, their
mm,
neighborhood besties, from their grandparents who lived next door to live in Scotland.
mhm,
That transition has been a big thing. What has it done for me and my husband? Full expansion.
mm,
Scotland has like opened me up and just gone, husband, new job opportunities, he's learning, he's exploring. We've got this great nature, and our kids have signed up for the ride.
mhm,
Yes, it's been challenging.
mhm,
Like there's been
mhm,
challenges,
mhm,
but we didn't want to, like, we lived off grid and like we had the ideal
mm.
land, all the things, but what was happening around us wasn't sitting well. And so we really needed to get out. And we made that choice for us.
Mhm.
And, those kids, they had to come, like they were little. We had to be on a plane for like 24 hours with masks on, it wasn't fun.
Wow.
No,
Yeah.
but we're here now and they're still as happy as can be. And that's the thing.
Yeah.
Like, we are all resilient. We've all had, some life experiences that have happened.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we're showing them how we make a choice.
Right.
We moved here for a better life. We moved here so we could travel more. We moved here so we could experience different culture. Like that, those are our values. It wasn't to have the bigger, better, flashier job, house, whatever. It was like,
Mhm.
what can we experience? Let's go.
Mhm.
Let's
Mhm.
be curious.
Mhm. And sharing those values with them. Yeah.
Values.
Yeah.
So important to know them.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to, we've talked about a lot of topics, but like, let's give women some tools. So, how would you encourage a woman to begin to identify what her values are?
I like journaling for starters.
Mm-hmm.
Writing things down. Actually, here's a really good example. Um, when I talk values, I talk about, things that I love and things that fill me with joy.
Mm-hmm.
9 times out of 10, you probably experience this too with a lot of your clients. If you ask them, what do you like? What do you love? They're like, I don't know.
Yeah, really hard for women, especially, to be like, this is what I love. This is what I want. This is what I desire. It's like, my gosh.
This is what I do for fun.
Yeah, right,
Answer
right,
that question, right?
right.
So, what I like to do with a lot of people is to get people to write like an A4 piece of paper. And it's kind of like a cancellation thing. So, at the beginning, we
Mm,
go, okay, so if you rewound back to when you were 5, what did you love to do?
yes. Uh-huh. Yep.
Okay, so let's go back to our childhoods for a moment because we knew how to have fun back then. Our life was about having fun.
Right. We're so
I
connected
love,
to our soul at that point. Most
yeah,
of us. Yeah, yeah.
there's nothing stopping, exactly, most of
Right.
us, there's nothing stopping us. I like to build planes. I liked playing with Lego. I like drawing. And so, like, write that list on that piece of paper. Fast forward again, 10. What did you love?
Yeah.
Like, you've grown up a little bit. There's still some things there. Like, what were those things? Fast forward again, 15. I, Usually the lists get a little bit shorter too, by the
Yes.
way.
Yes. Right, right.
From those like lists, and I'd probably go to about 2025, depending on your age. Like,
Yeah.
there's usually like, oh, I don't really know anymore. Like, that's fine. What I want you then to go think about is go, okay, if hiking, like you used to go bushwalking a lot as a kid, go for a bushwalk. Is that your thing? Do you enjoy it? Like, you have to put yourself into experiences to understand what your values are and what you do like, what you do love. And it's honoring that, going, oh, I'm on top of a hill. Look at that view. Oh my
Yeah.
God, I love a sunset. I didn't realize I love sunsets. And just
Yeah.
honoring, write it down, put it in
Right.
a journal and be like,
Right.
yes, this is mine.
Right. Oh my gosh,
This
I
is,
love this synchronicity. I want to keep going, but interjecting here that in the Sacred Truth Mastermind, I had women do like almost an identical exercise where we started at like 5 and went 10, 15, 20. And so I just want to combine this one with yours, is that
yeah.
I ask women, what were your truths? Like, what did you
Yes.
know to be true at 5? What did you know to be true at 10? And
Mm,
you can like see how those truths, some of them were still yours, some of them were like it started to become people pleasing, like other people's truths, right? And so like looking at
yes.
that arc. And so what is your truth? What does bring your joy?
Yes.
I love that. Yeah.
Well,
Hmm.
that's the thing, our truths, right? Like I can rewind back to my 10-year-old self. What did I want to be when I was 10? I wanted to be a writer. I actually started writing my first memoir when I
Yes.
was 10. I've just currently finished my first book, writing it,
Awesome.
right? But
Yeah.
there was a whole period of like 15 years in between that where I was like, I'm never going to be a writer.
Right.
I'm bad at English, like there was
Right.
validation to feed, something that
Yeah.
someone had said. So I was no longer being able to be a writer. But at 10, that's all I wanted. And then
Mm-hmm.
15, it was like, I'm going to be an artist.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah. Yeah.
you can't be creative, kept like canceling it out,
Yeah.
it's interesting. So those truths, but when you actually do the application of your truth,
Yeah.
like put yourself that experience going, oh yeah, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's knowing yourself. Like realistically, sometimes I don't like the word values, but it honestly is going, what do I like and what don't I like? What
Mm-hmm.
do I believe? What do I stand for? And asking these really big questions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm working with a woman in her, probably in her 60s, and there was a lot of duty and obligation, in her life, just through family,
Responsibility.
through religion, through being a wife, um, and and I'm talking to her about her inner spark, like what sparks you, like what do you want? And we have to go back, we're going back to like, well, what did the little girl want? Because it's like your lifeline, exactly like you're saying, well, that little girl had an interest in, let's say music. And so does music still spark you? Like, yes, it does. Well, start choosing music, like start finding the spark. And then we bring the life force like back into our lives, which can feel very rebellious depending on
And
how we've lived. Like it can feel very rebellious to start to choose you.
yeah, and that's the thing, like it doesn't have to be big.
Right.
Like I shared about the yoga class, like, like that was, it seems so silly now.
Yeah.
That's the thing, like it's simply like, my husband listens to really daggy folk country music. I love that he loves it. Like he loves words. He loves, you
Mm.
know, the beauty and the intricacy of how it can be put together. Whereas I'm like the bluegrass girl. I'm like, I want to be stomping in the mud, like, like that energy.
Yeah.
And, there's times where I'm like, hey, hon, I'm going to move rooms. I love sitting with you, but your music's bringing me down, like,
Yeah.
and it's knowing that,
Right. Right.
like, that's the thing, like those small little things, like, I don't like peas, I actually love peas, but like, okay, so you don't like peas, have you tried a pea recently? Like, do you know what it tastes like? Experience it. Yes.
Yeah.
Feel
Yeah.
it.
Right.
How does it make you feel? Yes.
Yeah. I think the topic, like you just brought up your husband and his preferences, and then like moving away when his preferences are not your preferences, and having that be okay. And that
Yeah,
right
that's a
there is
big one.
something like it's so big, and again so small and so big at the same time. Like
Yeah.
it's music and preference, but here you are, a woman saying, this vibe is not actually doing anything for me now. I'm going to choose like myself and my well-being. And that right there, I feel like women choosing in their energy with men, that is a whole other topic. But I think it's one of the hardest places, to begin to choose ourselves. And if I were to maybe make sweeping statements here in like generalization, with our children, it's this like obligation of like really wanting to give and serve and do our best, and we have a lot of like guilt about that, and just really wanting to do our best. But then with men, it's like when we want to be loved, or we want to keep him happy, or all of these intergenerational patternings that we have as well. I talk about this a lot, but to begin to choose again, it's like choosing your energy and choosing your body's truth in relation to men is one of the most empowering places for women to bring their energy back home to self.
I like this.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of things. People pleasing, it's about somebody else,
Yeah.
right? So for me, it's authority figures.
Yeah.
Anyone of authority who comes across as authoritative, yes, I'm like, oh, men, like our partners, we're in a relationship, right? So I think a lot of people don't understand like that energy has to dance with each other.
Mm-hmm.
The yin meets the yang.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to be fluid. The biggest thing for any people pleaser, and like, I think, boundaries are great, but what the most important piece is actually communication.
Mm.
Yes, we can make the choice, but then it's like, okay, how do I say that? How do I speak that? How do I not offend the other person? Because that's what we're thinking, right? Like, how do I not
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
offend them while I
Mm-hmm.
say what I need to say? So just acknowledging the energy and our truth
Yes, that's all it is. It's just your clarity.
and
Yeah.
saying it
Right.
for
Right.
what it is, as opposed to padding it out, fleshing it out, making it
Mm-hmm.
like bulletproof, which it doesn't
Yeah.
need to be.
Right.
Like we all know, no, it's not like a full sentence, blah, blah, blah. Like
Hmm.
if we took that concept and put it into everyday life, like, hubby, sorry, I'm leaving the room. Love
Mm-hmm.
ya,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
not down with your vibe.
Mm-hmm.
He gets it. He understands it. But we've built that communication between
Yeah.
us
Right.
from early on. It's not something that we've done in the last year or so. It's like our
Yeah. Right.
personalities like understand and we talk.
Yeah. Right.
And that's the way that we need to shift, this away from this needing to please. It's like, well, here's what my energy either needs, wants, or, like replenishing, like we had
Yeah.
that. I love that word today. I'm like, yes.
Yes.
Um, you know, once we have that, we can articulate that.
Right.
So
Right.
we can be met in the middle. It's funny, I'm teaching my daughter at the moment about like compromise because she goes from one
Mm.
extreme to the other. I'm like, no, there's a middle.
Mm.
Because relationships are about, sometimes it is a compromise, but it's understanding where two people stand and full acceptance of that.
Yeah. And yeah, so much here. I love what you said about people pleasing is about somebody else. And I love that. It's like, where's our orientation? And because I think we're taught to have, primarily most of us are taught to have an external orientation. I mean, we're teaching our children differently, but we've been taught to look outside of ourselves, and then like to have a boundary when your orientation is external. It's like, is my boundary going to be okay here? Is my truth going to be okay here? And if people are interested, they can find the episode that I did on boundaries. But I talk about boundaries in terms of clarity, which then you took the conversation to. It's like, if we feel defensive in our clarity, or if we're still fearing that our energy could be taken from us, or we're still fearing that this other person or this authority figure is going to somehow punish us for having this, truth or this clarity, then our quote unquote boundary becomes much more of a defense. And if people could have seen your hands, like you were putting your hands up like a stop, 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 in this like defensive, boundaries can be so like hard to hold when we are, it's almost like when we haven't really believed ourselves yet, like when we have a clarity about what we want, or and we put it in other people's hands. I'm just going to give a concrete example because I'm talking in a little bit of an abstract, but
Well,
like I have entered relationships with men or with employers where like I was hoping that a certain truth or a certain energetic boundary would be honored, but I didn't really do a good job like stating that or making sure that there were agreements, like you're saying with the communication. And so now at this point in my life, I'm so comfortable tuning into my body. Not that it's always comfortable, but it's the norm, that I'm tuning into myself, knowing myself. And then, in new relationships or new work agreements, or like a new relationship, starting recently with a man, it's like just coming forward with the truth that is. And then it's really beautiful, like watching a conscious response to the truth when there's no energy of defense in my truth. Like my truth is just my truth. It doesn't need to be defended. It's just clear. And then, a conscious response would be, thank you. I hear you, or, thank you for your truth, like that kind of conversation, ideally, right? But which is what we can move toward. And as women, when we are starting to choose our own values, starting to choose our own energy and our replenishment, working on the traumas that keep us, fearful, right? And laying down those defenses so that we can really feel clear in the nervous system when we're saying, babe, I'm going to go to a yoga class on Friday,
yeah.
and it's not like, oh my God, can I? Oh my God, can you keep the children? Oh my God, am I okay? It's like, I'm going to a yoga class. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Could you please support this? Oh, I can't support it on Friday, but I can support it on Saturday. Thank you so much. Great. Communication, like easy, right?
Easy.
Easy when we are regulated in our nervous system with and like able to identify what our truth is.
I want to add a layer. So
Yes.
often women, all of us, like the people pleasing is the coping mechanism
Mm-hmm.
as
Mm-hmm.
well.
Mm-hmm.
We put up a front,
Yeah.
that's what the wall. It's a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
I'm okay. So we build a shield around
Right.
us. We're protecting our energy from being hurt. We're being protective of our energy because someone might say no. Those
Yeah.
expectations are there.
Yeah.
We've, we're always on the lookout. And that's the thing, as you said, it depletes our nervous system. When our nervous system's shot, especially as women, oh my gosh, our menstrual cycle suffers. Our
Mm-hmm.
hormones go
Mm-hmm.
freaking, way, it's a party every day. What are you going to get?
Yeah. So unstable. Yeah.
That's deplete, like that depletes us, like not just mentally, but physically,
Yeah.
emotionally,
Yeah.
energetically.
Yeah. 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 Yes. The a few episodes ago, oh gosh, was it 117? I want to say Erin Fisher was talking about the tend and befriend of the nervous system, and how when we go into the parasympathetic, it's as women especially, we go into tend and befriend. And I think it's really beautiful for women to, yeah, tend and befriend ourselves, right? Yeah. Yeah.
First, you're allowed. we're allowed to
first.
clearly communicate. We can, like let go of, the coping mechanisms. We can let go of the expectations, because especially with communication, I think a lot of people, it's the execution of asking or speaking which holds us, because we're so worried
Yeah.
about what other people are going to react to, because we've witnessed other people react badly, I guess. And it takes us as well, like moving from reaction into responding.
Mhm,
And I'm
mhm,
still not perfect. I would still sometimes react. I'm like,
mhm,
I'm an adult, I'm a human, I'm
mhm.
still sometimes a child. Okay, cool. Like, but those are lessons and learning. But it's when we're always reacting, because that's that heightened, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
nervous
When
system.
we feel we need to defend ourselves. Yeah.
We're under attack. Oh my God.
Yeah. 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 So much here. I feel like women are going to take a lot of various inroads from our conversation today. Thank you so much for being here. What's your book about?
People pleasing.
Okay. Awesome.
um so yeah, it's my story, weaved together with, I guess, my learning and my unraveling, but also, yeah, how I rebuilt who I was. But yeah, I guess like the little stepping stones of how to get there.
Yeah.
um
And the
yeah.
tools. Good. Perfect. Yeah. Combination of story and tools. Like, yeah, it's our work in the world right now. I relate to that so much. So please share with everyone again where they can find you.
So Lizzie Moult, LIZZIEMOULT.com. That's my website. And also, if you want, say hello to me on Instagram would be really awesome. And that's just Lizzie_Moult, how I just spelled it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your joy and thank you for yeah, the light that you're shining into this space with your story. And I love your Instagram because it's so cheerful and you can tell like the embodiment of embracing all the things, like embracing motherhood, embracing being a wife, embracing yourself, and being a writer, and bringing it all together in one real life and real expression. So so wonderful. Thank you so much for being here. Is there anything, like any final thoughts you'd like to share with everyone?
I think, to sum it up, is you can't be everything to everyone. So choose you.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why we're here. Like, that's literally why we're on earth to be ourselves. Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And please say hi to Scotland for me.
I'll give it a big hug.
Thank you.
I'm like, it's right out my window. I'm like, when can I get out?
Awesome. Right now. Oh, thanks, Lizzie. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for having me. Such a beautiful conversation.
Mhm.